Today I wanted to take a moment to talk about cyberbullying in the classroom and how you can deal with this as a teacher. But I've got to admit that, the fact is that most of my research and most of my studying has been looking at the consequences of bullying, cyberbullying, and what can happen to students when these kinds of things happen. And I wanted to just kind of start off by talking about one person in particular. So you should see a YouTube picture on the screen now, and it says, "I have nobody, I need somebody, I need someone." And this is actually a picture of a girl named Amanda Todd. And she was relentlessly and kind of continuously bullied and cyberbullied by her fellow high school students and peers until she ended up dying by suicide. And so I wanted to kind of draw your attention to just how important this issue can be and what can happen when it goes unchecked. But there's also this optimism too, which is that as a teacher you have this great opportunity and role where you can really affect change and prevent somebody from either making a decision like this to end their life or hurting themselves in the process. So a little bit about what we're going to talk about today. First off, I want to talk about our main goal, which is to provide awareness and information about cyberbullying, kind of make a comparison of the similarities and differences between bullying and cyberbullying, where it happens, how, the scope of the issue, just how many people are affected, a little bit of a vignette for you to kind of read over and look at, what you can do as a teacher working with other students, parents, and even other teachers at your school. And then the last thing I want to finish up with is a little clip and information about a movement called anti-cyberbullying. So just what is bullying? Well, the statistics are kind of a little bit unclear, but what the basic number is 13 million American students will be bullied this year and every year. And that statistic comes from thebullyproject.com. They actually made a movie about stopping bullies and taking a stand. And you're physically present. You're somebody that's going to be in the classroom. You're going to be in the playground, the lunchroom, etc. And you have an opportunity to kind of see these things. But I want to show you a little YouTube clip that demonstrates just how bad it can be sometimes. So that's the trailer to the Bully Project's Bully documentary. Now, how does that differ from something called cyberbullying? Well, the definition of cyberbullying is the harassment or abuse through electronic means. How do you walk away from a digital life? How do you walk away from a Facebook page when it's at your fingertips? Most people are carrying around smartphones. Most people have access to computers in these kind of school environments, and just logging in is a click away. People are accessible, and sometimes it's too accessible. So what do we do about that? And how can we contend with the fact that cyberbullying can happen all the time, even when somebody goes home, versus bullying, which happens in a school environment, can be contained at very least? So what we see is that there are elevated rates of childhood psychiatric disorders and family hardships for those that are being cyberbullied. But where and how it happens, it's pretty diverse. So people can be cyberbullied through email, Twitter, Facebook, Google, text, and really the list goes on, and it's changing as newer technologies come out. And all of these wonderful things that connect us and make information accessible are also the same things that can be used to completely denigrate and bully somebody. So what about the scope? Well, about 1/3 of teenage internet users report being targeted in an annoying and/or menacing manner online. That's a staggering amount of people that are, at some point or another, getting targeted. And what we also know is that girls are more likely to be cyberbullied, especially older girls, so especially girls in high school. And I've actually spoken to a number of teachers about this phenomenon and also just kind of the broader picture of cyberbullying in the classroom. And I have a couple quotes here from Facebook status updates. And they say, "I will bash and say whatever the F I want. Ha ha ha, is it bad? I don't even read your messages, just instantly delete them. LOL, I just won't make that mistake again. F relationships." So as you can see here, these are really public displays, both of sometimes hate, but also personal details that are being shared with large numbers of social networks and large numbers of people. And the consequences are pretty amazing and drastic. What this means is that one message like this that gets posted to Facebook gets shared with other students. The word gets out, and all of a sudden this gets back to people. Even if they're not friends on Facebook, even if they don't see the tweet, these messages are seen by friends of theirs, and they do get around and they do affect them deeply. And this kind of all goes under this umbrella of cyberbullying. Now on your own time, I'd like you to take a look at these vignettes. And pretty much this is a story about somebody that has shared an intimate picture with someone they're seeing, and that picture gets out. And what happens then? And how are people treated? And I would go ahead and take a moment to think about, how would you deal with this situation? How would you handle Kim? And how would you handle Steve? And those that have also seen the text. So as you can see, these kinds of situations can pose a very difficult complication for you as a teacher in that role. And there are a lot of different options and a lot of different questions that you're going to have to be asking these students and those that see this. But how you handle it is an important consideration, and not necessarily an answer I have for you, but something that you should be talking with other teachers at this point about. Here's an interesting statistic. So more males in the last 30 days have sent a naked or semi-naked picture of themselves to others. But what's also happening is more males have received naked or semi-naked pictures from somebody in the last 30 days. So what that's suggesting is that there's this huge portion of people that are sharing pictures that they receive with friends of theirs. And the consequence should be addressed, can be addressed in a classroom environment. And, students need to know that when they share something with one person, if it's digital, it may very well end up in the hands of other people. So how do you work with students? How do you go ahead and prevent cyberbullying? Is it even possible? Well, I mean, it is a complicated and difficult issue, but there are some things that you can do. One is to refuse to pass along cyberbullying messages and to suggest to people, hey, this is an action that you can take as students to make a difference. Tell your friends to stop by cyberbullying. Tell them to realize the consequences and to recognize and highlight the consequences of this behavior. The other thing is that a lot of these social networking websites do offer an opportunity for students to block the communication with other cyberbullies. So using a Facebook block or a Twitter hide feature should be done if somebody is consistently harassing another individual or words are being spread through one individual. And know that they should always feel that if there's a trusted adult in their lives that they should report cyberbullying. And more than anything, it's to report cyberbullying, but also to report the psychological consequences that somebody might be going through. If somebody is feeling depressed, anxious, just a little nervous about going to school, or sad, that can make a really, really big difference in somebody's life. Their ability to learn and take in new information, their ability to see a hopeful future for themselves. And so it's important that they feel like they have some trusted adults in their lives where they can report this kind of behavior. So what about working with parents? Well, they have an opportunity to talk with their teens and their students, their children, about the risks and benefits posed by technology and the internet. And it's a conversation worth having here. Parents can check in and encourage these conversations. They can explain what safe and healthy internet usage looks like. But they can also engage in some cell phone monitoring and blocking. They can contribute in making Facebook a safer site for their child in and out of schools. Here's some quotes from teachers. I had way more trouble with cyberbullying. There were all these nameless status updates, negative and derogatory. Everybody knew who they were talking about. Their Facebook friends would start chiming in. Here's another quote. I think that cyberbullying is much different than physical or face-to-face bullying because the student who is the target cannot escape the bullying. It does not just affect them at school anymore. Since cyberbullying is occurring more frequently, teachers really need to teach their students how to use social media, technology, etc. more appropriately. It is also helpful when teachers know their students really well. The more comfortable their students feel about coming to teachers to talk about any cyberbullying they are experiencing, the quicker it can be addressed. And I think that this really talks to the idea that, students have an opportunity to report cyberbullying, whether they are the victim of or a bystander. But having your students' trust is the first step for them coming to you. Now, even here in little Iowa City, some West High School students actually took to Twitter to give compliments and to kind of change this social networking cyberbullying into anti-cyberbullying. I have a couple links here, but I also want to show this YouTube clip that's about a CBS News anchor that was recently cyberbullied about her weight. Well, I appreciate you watching our video and taking a peek at some of this problem's systemic issues and how you might be able to solve it. How you might be able to have a role as a teacher in a classroom environment and setting to make a difference in students' lives. If you have any questions or concerns or want more information about cyberbullying, you're welcome to go ahead and send me an email at sam.lustgarten@gmail.com. Again, thank you very much.